So today's presentation was prepared by Meryem, Berna and Merve, but I also changed the structure of the presentation a little bit, and I also added some colorful images to this presentation. So let's start our first part of sentences as arguments. So in today's presentation we will see full statement clauses, question clauses, infinitive clauses and gerund clauses. Actually you are already familiar with most of these sentence types, clause types let's say, because we will not call them sentences, we will call them clauses. Why? Because they would be a part of a bigger sentence. These are clauses, they are embedded in a bigger sentences. We will see what I mean. Then let's start with the definitions first. So a sentence is a group of words in a particular sequence and have a meaning, and the argument is an expression in the sentence which completes the meaning of the predicate. So what is embedded clause? Embedded in Turkish means gömülü. So the embedded clause is a grammatical unit that includes a subject and a verb which supports the main clause. In other words, it's information put into the middle of the sentence to give the reader more information and enhance the sentence. So this embedded clause actually in Turkish means yan cümle. Ana cümlenin parçası olan küçük cümlecik diyebiliriz. Okay, let's go on. An argument can refer to expressions named for real or potential entities. Also, an argument can be a prediction, a real or potential fact, and such an argument is expressed as a clause that is a sentence that is embedded in another sentence. Let's look at these following examples, following sentences. So, they know that I opened the letter. Do you want me to open the letter? She watched me opening the letter. Are you surprised at my opening the letter? So from these examples, we can see that all these four sentences have the same components of a clause actually. So I opened the letter, me to open the letter, me opening the letter, my opening the letter. You can see that all of the sentences share the same components of a clause. So we will see what are the difference between these four sentences. So predicates that have embedded sentences as a theme include the following. Those that actually here we will see 6 different items which will show us the embedded sentences as a theme. So they might inform the reader about knowledge or ignorance of a possible fact. This is the first item. So let's look at the example. Ivan knows that we are here. I doubt if the game will start on time. So these are the knowledge or the ignorance of a possible fact. So as the second item, an attitude or orientation toward a fact or possible fact. This is the second property of embedded sentences as a theme. Jean is disappointed that you can't join us. This is an attitude, disappointment. David's parents are anxious for him to succeed. It surprised everybody that Sanders appeared at the party. Sanders' appearance at the party surprised everybody. The children pretended that they were asleep. The children pretended to be asleep. So here in these sentences you can see that they all convey the message of an attitude or orientation towards a possible fact or a fact actually. But here, for example, let's look at the last couple of sentences. Both of them have the same property. The children pretended that they were asleep. The children pretended to be asleep. If it is given with that clause or if it is given with infinitive clause, they are same. There is still a clause here with a tacit, unwritten subject. They didn't repeat the children subject here. But again, these two sentences, both of them have a clause. One of them is a full clause and the other one is the infinitive clause. So we will see their types, full sentence clause or infinitive clause, gerund clause. We will see all of them in this presentation. But I want to warn you that both of these sentences, even if it is infinitive clause, they have a clause. It might be full sentence or it might be a gerund or infinitive type clause. So as the third item, the embedded clauses might infer the information about causing, allowing, or preventing the occurrence of a fact, like Jerry had the barber trim his mustache, Mama let Miriam hold the baby, Mama kept Miriam from holding the baby. You can see have, let, and keep verbs, and they might have different properties. And item 4 is the perception of a fact. I saw Mr. Hall come out of the garage. Ruth heard a baby crying. These are the perception of a person, see and hear, about senses actually. So item 5 is about saying something about a fact or possible fact. Lily says that she will be a little late. Please tell us if you feel ill. Edward denied opening the letter. Say, tell, deny. Verbs like this infer the message about saying something about a fact or possible fact. And the last item is the beginning, continuing, or termination of a possible event, like Marilyn quit smoking. Suddenly it started to rain. You might ask, for example, where is the clause here? There isn't a full sentence, yes, but still quit gets a gerund clause, which is smoking here. So Merely quitted smoking here is a gerund clause. And in the second sentence is an infinitive clause with to. You can see it here. So these are also embedded clauses, even if they are only gerund or infinitive. So as it's seen from the examples, embedded clauses have several different forms. They might be gerund, they might be infinitive, they might be full sentence, or they might be even question. So we will see these 4 types of embedded clauses in today's presentation, and we will see the rest of the embedded clauses types in the next week's presentation. So let's start with full statement clauses and let's compare these two sentences. So here in 1a, Ivan knows the answer and Ivan knows that we are here. In the first sentence, like Ivan knows the answer, we cannot see a clause here. This is only a sentence. But in the second one, Ivan knows that we are here. You can see that after the verb knows, after the predicate knows, there is a full sentence which is connected with unnecessary that. And the full sentence have the subject, auxiliary, and also a placement expression. So let's look at 2a and 2b. Sally forgot her appointment. You can see a sentence here. There is no embedded clause in these sentences, but with the same forget verb, we can create a sentence like Sally forgot that Sarah was waiting for her. So again, there is a full statement clause here, which is connected to predicate with that, unnecessary that, like Sarah is the subject of the full statement clause, and Was waiting is the, let's say, predicate. For her is again prepositional clause. And as the last example for this part, the judges announced their decision to the eager contestant. Sabırsız seyircilere, dinleyicilere, or yarışmacılara kararlarını ilan ettiler. Okay, you can see that there is no clause here, an embedded clause here. But in 3b, the judges announced to the eager contestants that they had reached a decision. Again, you can see after this that connector, there is a subject and verbs and an object. You can see a full statement as a clause. I mean, here we have a full sentence as a clause of another sentence actually. So these are called full statement clauses. So in 1a, 2a and 3a, a noun phrase is the object of the verb, and in 1b, 2b and 3b, a clause occurs in the same place and with the same role. In 3b, the direct object and indirect object have been rearranged and the shorter element placed before the longer one. So if sentence 1a has this structure like Ivan, the subject is the affected as a lexical role, and know is the predicate, and the object is in the position of a team here. Ivan know the answer. Ivan know answer. So 1b, sentence 1b has the same structure like affected, predicate, and team, but here the team is not only a name or only an object. The team is a sentence here, a full sentence, let's say. So it is symbolized as S-team. So we can understand from this S-team that the team of this full sentence is also a full statement clause, let's say. So here the statement team is we were here or we are here. It's a full sentence here, and this full sentence here, we and here are also categorized into team and placed as well. So Ivan know that we are here. So we are here part is a statement team, is a sentence team, or is a part of the bigger sentence Ivan know. So this S-team or statement team or a clause is introduced by the meaningless word that, which may or may not be present. I mean, we can omit this that word here. The rest of the clause following that, after that, is identical with a sentence standing alone. We are here. Sarah was waiting for her. They had reached a decision. And all of these embedded sentences or clauses are statements in which propositions are presented as facts. Note that the subject of the clause, if a personal pronoun, must be a subject form. I mean, it should be I, you, we, they, or he, she, it. They wouldn't be a object clause like me, him, her, us, or them. And the verb of the clause can have all the modification of a main verb. I mean, the verb in the full statement clause can have a time conjugation. I mean, they might be in any tense or in any usage of a modal verb, for example. Let's look at here. This shows us what I mean. I know that Sarah waits. You can see this is present simple. Sarah waited. Sarah is waiting. Present continuous. Sarah had been waiting. Sarah should have waited. Sarah must wait. Or you can arrange it according to any tense you would like. So it means that here the embedded clause, might also have a tense stress as well. So a clause that has these characteristics I mean, if a clause has a subject, with the subject pronoun or as a subject, and if a sentence, a clause has a time indicators, like if the verbs might be modified according to the times, then these kinds of clauses are called full sentence, full statement clauses, or full clauses shortly. So these are the properties of a full clause. So a combination of adjective or preposition may be followed by an abstract complement, like aware of the problem, disappointed in the results, sorry for the trouble. These might be also the predicate of the sentence. And the same adjectives may have a clause as complement, and in this case the preposition disappears. You will see the examples. Like, we weren't aware. Normally we use aware with of prepositions, like aware of the problem, but here if the sentence is followed with a clause, as I said here, they may have a clause as a complement, and in this case the preposition of disappears. You can see that here we don't use of with aware. And here Jean is disappointed. Again, we don't use the preposition in with disappointed adjective. And with sorry for normally, but we don't use for here because they are followed with a clause. And when they are followed with a clause, we don't use the preposition for the adjectives. So clauses can also occur in subject position, as in noun clause examples. So let's see the subject position, özne pozisyonunda clauses example in noun clauses. So here, that Jane came to the party surprised everybody. So here you can see this part is the subject of the full sentence, but it is also a noun clause example, and there is also a full statement clause, because we know that here Jean, or Jane, how do you pronounce, I don't know, but Jane is the subject, and came, you can see in simple past tense form, to the party is the place identification. So Jane came to the party is a full sentence statement, full sentence or full statement clause of the full another sentence, and it is in the subject position, as you see here. Normally we can write this sentence exactly like this as well. It surprised everybody that Jane came to the party. So we can see another example, that Mr. Godson remembers so many things. Here is the noun clause in the subject position. Mr. Godsson remembers so many things is unbelievable. Mr. Godson'ın bu kadar çok şeyi hatırlaması gerçeği inanılmazdır şeklinde Türkçe'ye çevirebiliriz. And the same sentence can be paraphrased like, it is unbelievable that Mr. Godson remembers so many things. Again, we can see that the noun clause might be in the subject position, or it might be as a part of cleft sentence. Okay, here it is in the form of cleft sentence. So another type of clauses other than full statement clauses, the second type is question clauses. So question as well as statements are embedded in other sentences, and they may be information questions like, I wonder when the concert was. Actually here is the question form, when was the concert question, is embedded as a clause into another sentence. And Robert doesn't know what time it is. So the question is what time it is. What time is it question is embedded into the sentence as what time it is. So you can see here that I wonder and question team. I is the affected as a lexical role, and wonder is the predicate, yüklem, and question team is again as a question sentence actually, and it is. So here we can say that the question team is again categorized into in sub-teams, like a question team becomes team and also includes time expression. And let's look at the other example. Here you can see he asked me when the concert was. Normally there is the question when was the concert question is embedded into the other sentence, and here he is the actor position as a lexical role, and predicate is the ask. Goal is me, is the, I mean, as a lexical role here is the goal, which actually is directed to the predicate, and question team is again the concert is the team part of the question team, and there is also time expression. Actually it asks about what time, or when ask about the time. So the embedded sentence may be also a yes-no question. It doesn't have to be a question with double H word. They can be also a yes-no question. So the word that introduces the embedded clause in this position is if word, and which is unlike that is not omittable. So we cannot delete if it is a yes-no question. Normally in full statement clauses we can delete that, it is unnecessary, but if is necessary is we cannot omit, we cannot delete if in these sentences. Let's look at the examples here. I doubt if George knows the answer. So normally the question is, does George know the answer? But we embed this sentence into the bigger sentence, into the main sentence, let's say, by using if word, because it is a yes-no question. So if George knows the answer, by making it as an answer to the question, actually as a normal order sentence, but we use if to show that it is a yes-no question. Like, please tell us if you feel ill. For example, the question is, do you feel ill? But where we make it like, if you feel ill, we turn it into a normal sentence order by using if in the beginning. So a yes-no question may present two or more alternatives, like, will your friends stay or leave? So you can see that there is two alternatives, stay or leave alternatives. So when such an alternative question is embedded into another sentence, it is introduced with the word whether instead of if. Like, I wonder whether your friends will stay or leave. So the question, will your friends stay or leave, is written into the sentence by using whether at the beginning. Like, I wonder whether, then we can understand that a yes-no question with an alternative is coming. So I wonder whether your friends will stay or leave. So the second alternative need not appear in a sentence. I mean, we don't have to write here or not part. We don't have to write. We can omit this part. So let's read it. Have you heard whether we get a holiday or not? So we can omit or not part here because it is not necessary. So after the question clauses, we can see another embedded clauses example. This is the infinitive clauses. So let's see infinitive clauses. Infinitive is the form of the verb without any affixes, let's say, without gerund or without any time expression or without anything. So infinitive clauses are the usages of verbs in their simple versions. So let's see their examples. So when we look at the examples here, we see that I know that Sarah waits for Sally. This is a full statement clause, but when we turn the sentence with expect verb, I expect Sarah to wait for Sally. So here you can see is a infinitive clause. The sentence with expect contains one kind of a reduced clause, an infinitive clause actually. So it can be inferred as I expect Sarah to have waited by making the infinitive clause into present perfect form or perfect form, let's say. Or we can make it progressive, like I expect Sarah to be waiting. Or we can combine them by making perfect continuous. I expect Sarah to have been waiting. These are the only alternatives that we can change the infinitive clause. But however, to wait does not distinguish, using only to wait, without making them perfect or progressive, only using to wait does not distinguish present or past. It doesn't give us any information about the time, about the tense. So it cannot be preceded by a modal verb like can, should, must, or will. I'm sure you already know from the basic English grammar that with to infinitive here, you cannot use any modal verb. So a rule of English grammar requires an overt subject in an infinitive clause when the subject of the infinitive is different from the subject of the main verb. So if the subject of the main verb, main sentence, let's say, is different from the infinitive clauses subject, then we have to use an overt subject. Overt here means clear, written, clearly stated subject. But if the subject of an infinitive is the same as the subject of the main verb, there is a tacit subject. Here tacit means hidden, not written, not clearly stated subject. Let's look at the example. The Eagles expect the Hawks to win the game. So here you can see the person who is expected to win is the Hawks. So they are written here in the form of overt subject, Hawks to win the game. So Hawks are expected to win the game. But here in sentence B, the subject of the sentence and the subject of the to infinitive are same, like the Eagles. The Eagles expect to win the game. So we didn't write here again for this part. We didn't write here the Eagles expect the Eagles to win the game. We didn't write it, so it is called tacit subject, not written, not stated subject. So in the first sentence above, here in sentence A, the infinitive clause has an overt subject, the Hawks, and in the second sentence, the infinitive clause has a tacit subject, which is not written here, the Eagles. So certain adjectives also occur with an infinitive clause as complement. So some adjectives rather than some verbs, some adjectives might also get an infinitive clause as complement. One of them is anxious. Let's see the example. David's parents are anxious for him to succeed, and David too is anxious to succeed. So this anxious adjective is followed with a to infinitive. So if the clause has an overt subject, clear written subject, it is introduced with the preposition for as illustrated. Other adjectives that take infinitive clause are these here you can see in part B, and all of which have human subjects, like I am afraid to pass the exam. She was content to see her friend. I was eager to start eating. She was glad to meet her boss. We were happy to be on time. I was impatient to start running, and he was sorry to be late. You can see that all these adjectives are followed with to infinitive. When an infinitive clause is the object of a certain small group of verbs, the preposition to doesn't appear. I mean, you can see actually these are the exceptional verbs, let's say, like had, let, and have verb. And here, Jerry had the barber trim his hair. Mommy let Miriam hold the baby. And I helped Ted and Tom to change a tire. In these sentences, normally, you know that there is the infinitive, unchanged part of the verb, like trim his hair, hold the baby, change a tire, are the infinitive form of the verbs. We know that here is an infinitive clause, but without to, without using preposition to. These are the result of have, let, and help verbs. These are the exceptional ones actually. It is not applicable to every verb. These are only used with have, let, and help. These are the causative verbs actually. So here you can see that in sentence A and B, we cannot use to preposition. But with help, it is optional. We can use to or we can omit it. It is up to us. We can use or we can omit these two. It doesn't matter if you delete to from this sentence. But with have and let causative sentences, we have to omit to preposition before the infinitive verb. So the last type of for today's lesson is gerund clauses. So there is a group of verbs that can have as object of as an infinitive clause without to or a gerund clause. A gerund clause has a verb with the suffix ing. So let's see what I mean. I saw Mr. Hall came out of the garage. I saw Mr. Hall coming out of the garage. You can see both of the sentences are correct actually. We can use infinitive or we can use gerund. It doesn't matter. So they are same actually. Like Ruth heard a baby cry. Ruth heard a baby crying. Again, here is the infinitive. In B is the gerund. So they are same. So did you notice a pretty girl walk by? Did you notice a pretty girl walking by? So both of them are same, but in A is the infinitive verb, and in the second one is the gerund ing formed verb. So all these examples consist of perceptual verbs. So here I mean like verb see here, and notice verbs are the examples of perceptual verbs, and these verbs can be followed with gerund here, like gerund coming or infinitive come. You can see here verb it can be followed as a complement with infinitive or gerund, and notice might be followed with infinitive walk or gerund walking. These are the examples of perceptual verbs. So let's see their definitions, the definition of perceptual verbs. So in English grammar, a verb of perception is a verb like see, watch, look, hear, or listen. So that these verbs conveys the experience of one of the physical senses. So these are the examples of perceptual verb. Gerund clauses with tacit subjects are seen in the next group of sentences. So after perceptual verbs, the other form of using gerund clauses are used with tacit subject. So tacit subjects are the unwritten, not repeated subjects like gizli özne in Turkish. So I enjoy attending the theater. Edward denied opening the letter. Marilyn has quit smoking. So you can see that here is the gerund clause, attending the theater. Edward denied opening the letter. Here, he denied that he opened the letter. Might be another option, but here we don't use adverbs again. So Merlin quit smoking. So here, quit and smoking are two different verbs normally, but we don't use here again the subject because they are the same subject. So this is the tacit subject, not repeated, not written subject, let's say. So a small group of adjectives also takes gerund clause as complements with a preposition between adjective and gerund, like who is responsible for doing this. I am grateful for your taking time off. So these are the examples of adjectives with prepositions and taking gerund clauses. So other adjectives might be ashamed of, aware of, grateful for, thankful for, and many others. So now let's look at this sentence. Deborah advised, allowed, forbade, suggested, waiting. So let's examine this sentence. With the verbs shown in the sentence above, I mean the red written verbs, the following gerund clause seems to have a tacit subject, I mean not written subject, but the real subject is an unmentioned somebody. Yani bahsedilmeyen herhangi birilerine bu eylem yöneltilmiş. That is not identical with the main clause object. And the subject of the gerund clause here is not Deborah. It is somebody else, someone else. So there is also indirect object that is tacit and that is identical with the subject of the clause. Let's look at another form of the sentence. Deborah gave advice, permission, encouragement, a suggestion, or a warning to someone about waiting. You can see it might be also the indirect object form. In the first example, it is the tacit subject is the somebody. Somebody waits, somebody should wait, somebody must wait, but it is somebody which is tacit here. But in the second example here, Deborah gave advice to someone. Here it became an indirect object, but it can be also omitted because it is also a tacit indirect object in this example. So this is the end of the gerund clauses as well. So thank you so much for watching this course, and I hope you understood the topic. You might reach me anytime you want by writing an email to my email address that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So have a good day. Bye bye.